This might be the year that I'm finally reading this book. I need to put this one on my wish list. This is where I organize my reading. Hi guys, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. My drink of choice today is a nice hot cup of Russian Earl Grey tea. So that's Earl Grey tea, black tea, with a hint of citrus. You may have seen my autumn book guide or my Dark Academia book guide, in which I mostly talk about books that I have already read. This video is kind of a companion to that video because today I'm going to be talking about books that I still want to read that have that Dark Academia, cozy autumnal, dark-ish vibe to it. So maybe you can find out about even more books to put on your radar for this year's autumn season. Okay, the idea is I just want to end up with like a nice list of books that I want to read this autumn, because I don't know about you, but I often kind of lose track of all of the options because there's always so many books that I still want to read, new books coming out, and I kind of lose track of it, especially in autumn, because I feel like autumn is like high season for publishing. So many books coming out right now, so many great movies as well. They just know everyone's gonna sit inside all day, and you know, I applaud that. I am with that, but I am a little overwhelmed with all the choice. So today we bring back the peace in our minds. I lined up nicely back there all the books that I currently have on my TBR shelf, so the books that I haven't read yet. So let's just move over there and first take a look at the books that I already own, and then after that we can take a look at books that I maybe want to buy. I think maybe first I should show you the book that I'm currently reading. I am currently finally making my way through The Secret History by Donna Tartt, the OG of the Dark Academia books. I got this as a present from someone last year, and I never really picked it up because I don't know, I guess I was a little scared because it was hyped up so much, and I already knew that I really like Dark Academia books, so this was daunting. Sometimes you have such high expectations of a book that it becomes a little bit daunting, but I'm finally reading it. I've almost finished actually already. There's a full reading vlog coming of this book and another book, which we'll talk about soon. Up until a little bit before Christmas, I feel like reading dark, spooky, autumnal stories, and then when it's almost Christmas I start getting more in the mood for like the wintry books. So we have about 3 months of books to plan. And I don't really read super fast. Well, it depends on who you ask, of course, but I read about 2 to 3 books a month, so that means 9 books. And the reason I'm being so meticulous about it, I can imagine that you're watching this and thinking, why would you plan your reading so precisely? Just read whatever you want. It's just because I know I'm gonna want to buy new books, and if I don't keep a realistic idea of books that I can finish, I will just buy too many books. Like if I go ahead and like buy 15 new books over the next couple of months, you know, I never would have been able to read those books in that time. So that's why I keep in mind, okay, around 9 books. You know, it's just nice to keep that in mind, to know what I can handle, basically. The other book that I want to read, that I already know I want to read after Donna Tartt, is Babel or Babel by R. Huang. I don't own it yet. I will go out to buy it. You will see all of that in the Dark Academia reading vlog. But then after that, that's the fun question. That's the fun question. Let's take a look at what I have here. Because I'm currently reading The Secret History, and for the first time fully annotating, so that includes like writing in the book. I never did that, like fully underlining and writing in the book is not something I do very often, but I'm loving it. It's making me realize how much fun it is to really engage with a book like that. I'm kind of in the mood to read books that I can really engage with. I have a lot of fantasy on here that I'm just not really in the mood for right now. I know, I will read this, don't worry. I have some more classics like Crime and Punishment, which I still need to... We're not gonna talk about this. Pride and Prejudice and Jane Eyre. This might be the year that I'm finally reading this book. And that is Jane Eyre I put this book off for a very long time because it's very long and, you know, it's just a little bit difficult to get through because of the classic English language, which I do still notice I have more trouble with than with just modern English. English is still my second language, so there are a lot of old-fashioned words that are just a little unknown to me. But because I'm so in the mood to just really dig my teeth into a book and just annotate it and really engage with the story, maybe I should take that energy and channel it towards finally reading Jane Eyre, because I feel like this would be a classic story that I'm gonna love. So it's happened before in previous years that I put this on my TBR and then I don't get to it, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it this year. So I'm just gonna put this as a book from my TBR that I already own that I want to read. And then if I read The Secret History and Babel and Jane Eyre, that'll be 3 600-page books. So maybe I should tone it down a little bit. I do still have a copy of The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. I got this last year from Book of the Month. It was a last year autumn release, and it's kind of a spooky romance novel. Well, it's not spooky, but it's Halloween themed. It's a little witchy. I think the main character is a witch, and she casts a spell on her ex. Basically, the spell seems to be backfiring, so I have to solve it. And a friend of mine read this and said it was super just funny and cute. Erin Sterling, by the way, is a pseudonym for Rachel Hawkins. Whoa. Look at how large the letters are. That's nice. So this is gonna be definitely an easy book to get through. It's 300 pages with these huge typeface. So if I'm in the mood for something a little bit more light-hearted, I think I could pick this up. I'm not currently in the mood for romance because I've read a lot of romances in the summer, but you know, maybe after finishing The Secret History and Babel and Jane Eyre, this might be something to keep in mind. And then I just want to have a quick chat about the non-fiction books that I still have. I don't know about you guys, but there are very specific moments in my life where I feel the need to read slightly more, I guess, challenging books. I've noticed that now that I've graduated, because I have a master's degree now, now that I've graduated and I'm not studying anymore right now, the urge for me to finally read the books on my TBR that are a little bit more challenging, like my classics or my non-fiction, is returning. And I buy these books because I'm genuinely interested in them, but then, you know, you spend so much time studying and working, and I just noticed that that energy to really engage with an interesting, challenging book, I just don't have the energy to do that when I study. And this is why I have such a big pet peeve for people who judge other people that only read quote-unquote easy books. Well, not quote-unquote, there's nothing wrong with easy books, but it's always a big pet peeve for me when people judge others for not reading books that challenge them or only reading easy books, and based on that making assumptions about who that person is. And I'm like, you know, the books that you read are not a reflection of your entire life. For the most part, a lot of people who read easy books do that because they spend a lot of their free time doing things that are not easy, and then in your free time you want something easy. And I always notice that when I have more free time, I start to have more, I guess, mental capacity, like more mental energy to finally get through these books that I also really want to read that are a little bit more challenging and therefore I could never get to while I was studying. For example, I have so many philosophy books that I would love to get to because I find that super interesting, but I just never really got around to that. And I don't really know where I'm going with this little tangent. I guess I just want to say, if you have a lot of books on your TBR that you really want to read that are more non-fiction or more classics, don't feel bad about not getting to them because you're too busy. I guess you don't have to feel guilty about not reading these books because you read the books that you need at that moment. That being said, if in the upcoming months I feel like picking up some non-fiction and engaging with some non-fiction, I think this is the one, Play-Doh. I'm just gonna take a quick look at my bookshelves because there are more books that I haven't read that I don't put on my TBR shelf because they're more anthologies or more long-term books, not books that I immediately want to read, but I sometimes forget looking at them, so I'm just gonna grab them. Like here, I already see these two. It's on non-fiction, and Beauty and the Beast up there. I don't think I want to grab that right now because then I have to stand on a stool, but that's one I haven't read. I'm not really in the mood for it right now, so I'm just not gonna go through the effort of getting that. Look what we have here. Some more anthologies, and this one, ooh, I got this for my birthday last year. I have the Penguin Book of Myths and Legends of Ancient Egypt. Oh my gosh, actually, do I want this right now? That's actually super interesting. Ooh, maybe I do want to read this right now. I feel like everyone, when they were a child, when they were younger, had some random culture that they were super interested in. You know, some people are really into Greek mythology, other people are really into like the romance. For me, when I was really young, it was Latin American civilization, so like the Aztecs and the Incas and the Mayas. And then a little later, it was ancient Egypt for me. I don't know what about it, but it just really, I thought it was so interesting. But, you know, obviously I never really knew anything about it beyond like children's books, so I've always wanted to read up on it more, but then I get daunted by these non-fiction that are just so information heavy books. But maybe I should just take a look at this. I'm just gonna put it on the pile. And then what we have more here is John Keats poems. Maybe I should just put this on my bedside table so I can just take a look at it whenever I want to. And then, how could I forget Thomas Ligotti's Songs of a Dead Dreamer and Grimscribe. This is a collection of short existential horror stories. First off, I want to read more short stories in general. And secondly, I want more spooky vibes. I want more scary vibes. So this one definitely is going to be read. Oh man, we already have quite the pile. Oh, and this doesn't even include all the books that I don't own yet that I want to read. So I actually have a Notion page with a long list of all the books that I am interested in reading or that I'm currently reading or have read. So let's just go over all of the books that I am interested in reading. There's about 70 of them, and see which ones have the most autumnal, dark, creepy vibes. Just bring my laptop here. I think at the end of this video, I also want to show you how I make a little overview of all of the books that I want to read in Notion and create a little cute Notion page together. For now, let's take a look at the books that I'm interested in reading that I don't own yet. The one book that I've been hearing a lot about, but that seems to be a little niche. Like, I just hear some of my friends talking about it, but it's not very popular on Goodreads yet, and that is Ordinary Monsters. This is like a 19th century Victorian fantasy adventure story about people with magical abilities that come together. If you've seen this book in the bookstore, it's huge. Like, it's a tome. But I heard great things about it. But no, maybe. I think I have enough tomes for this autumn. So we're gonna pass on that one, but I'll keep it in mind. A few Dark Academia books that I have on my radar is Vita Nostra, which I talked about in my Dark Academia video. It's a fantasy Dark Academia about a magical school for people who have like very special abilities. Then Catherine House, another Dark Academia that's very weird. And then we have two self-published novels, Gothicana, which is a gothic romance Dark Academia book with a very taboo dark romance between a student and one of the teachers. And I really like gothic atmospheres, and I also really like reading about very dark and twisted romances. So this sounds like it's up my alley, but I've seen Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction read it, which, by the way, if you don't know her channel yet, you should check it out. She has fantastic autumnal cozy vibes. She hated it. Maybe it's bad, and I don't want to spend a lot of money on something that's going to be bad, but I also kind of just want to give it a try. And then we also have A Dowry of Blood, which is about like a reimagining of Dracula's wives, and that is also self-published. And it's so sad because it's really difficult to get my hands on self-published books. Usually I can only get them on Kindle. Like, I tried to look for Gothicana and A Diary of Blood, but I can only find them on Kindle and I don't have an e-reader. It can be very difficult to get your hands on a physical copy because of course they're self-published, so they're not really distributed internationally as well. Should I get an e-reader so I can just read these self-published books? This one, I need to put this one on my wish list. Yep. I want to read Junji Ito. He is a manga artist and he makes very creepy horror manga, very existential. I think his most well-known work is Uzumaki, and I want to read him for October, for spooky season. That is 100% certain. So he's definitely gonna go on the wish list. Yeah, without a doubt. I finally want to get into Junji Ito. If you have any recommendations for where to start, like which bundle to buy first, because you can't really buy his short stories separately. Like, most of his work is published in these bundles. So if you have any recommendations for what to start with, which one to go for first, let me know and I will put that on my little wish list for myself. Okay, that was very easy. Okay, another type of book that I really want to get into, and I'll probably make a video about this as well, is books that fall in the category of dark cottagecore, which sounds amazing. It's basically cottagecore, so cottages, woods, nature, but dark. You know, think of misty forests, abandoned cabin woods, witchy people. That sounds exactly like my thing. If there's one thing that I love in books, it's eerie, dangerous forests. So that, I have some books that fit into this category. The first one is Among the Beasts and Briars. This is a fantasy. I think it's YA. A dark, lush, fairy tale inspired fantasy. It involves a forest that is growing dark and cursed and forbidden. And our main character carries a little bit of this dark curse of magic in her blood. And our main character has to run from the royal family, and she has a little fox companion. This sounds super fun, but I do have this on audiobook and it has also been translated into Dutch, which means my library has it. So I don't have to put this one on my wish list. Then another one, another self-published one, but this one is popular enough that I was able to find it online and I can get this. It is Fortuna Sworn. This is like a dark fairy romance, kind of described as ACOTAR, but actually dark, which really sounds like my thing. I think it involves dark woods and labyrinths and dangerous things happening to our main character. Sounds like a blast. Sounds like the just quick fun thing that I really want to read. I also have this on audiobook. Maybe I'll buy it, but I definitely want to read this one. And then the last dark cottagecore book is one that I found on a website of dark cottagecore book recommendations, and that is We Have Always Lived in the Castle, which is, I think it's a classic. It's like a modern classic from the 1960s. It's always kind of gone past me, but it sounds like exactly my kind of thing, so I'm not sure why I never really decided to pick it up earlier. Oh, it's a mystery novel. Oh, that's fun. A Labyrinth of Dark Neuroses. Yeah, give that to me. So it's about a murderous family who lives in this castle. I actually think this would really be my thing. I think I want to read this. I think I want to read this. I'll put that on my wish list as well. Speaking of audiobooks, by the way, if you see my last vlog, you know that I started listening to Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson, and I did really enjoy it. I did, however, notice that I haven't really continued listening to it. You know, sometimes a book isn't bad, but you're just not really into it that much that you really want to continue reading. So I'm not sure if I'm going to continue reading that, but just so you know, Vespertine is kind of the warrior nun spirits fantasy that I'm currently listening to, but I don't know if I'm going to finish it. It's fun, there's really nothing wrong with it, but it's just not, you know, grabbing me. It's not really grabbing me right now. Okay, I've written down a bunch of books that I'm interested in. We have this pile of books that I own that I might be interested in, so let's organize them. And I like to do that in Notion, but of course you can also do that in a little reading journal or on a little bit of a notepad or whatever you want, but let's do it together. on my second cup of tea. Now we're gonna take everything we just talked about and organize our thoughts and make it look neat. You know, I don't believe in astrology, but I'm really having a Virgo moment right now. This is where I organize my reading. Again, I'm using Notion, but you can use anything you want. I already have a little wish list of books that I want to read. As you can see, I was already thinking about A Dowry of Blood. Let's make a little autumn section. So I already wrote down all the books that I just mentioned. Let's make it look cute. We make it cute by going to Pinterest. This is a very serious matter, finding the right Pinterest picture. It's a craft, you know, it's really a skill that you need to hone. Yes. Okay, save the link to the picture. And embed the link. There we go. Vibes. We have some space here. We have a lot of space here. Just move it around. Yes. Amazing. Cute. Okay. This is 10 books of the books that I really want to read, and then these are the other books that I could also like potentially look through, so I need to tone it down a little bit. Babel, 100% want to read, and I still need to buy that one, so Babel going to the top. Jane Eyre, absolutely want to read, already own it. Junji Ito, 100%, so I still need to buy that one. Yeah, okay, I guess this is my priority list. I'll just highlight the ones that I already own. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. For these ones, I really want to read them, but I'm not even sure if I can get my hands on them. So I'm not gonna just go out and buy them because I might never get to them. This one doesn't need to be on the wish list because I can get the audiobook. This one probably as well. I would say these are the 6 books that I'm pretty certain I can get to this autumn. So I'll give those priority because this is a graphic novel to switch it up, and We've Always Lived in the Castle is very short, so I feel like that's like a quick classic that I can get to, so I will also put that high on my wish list. I'm just happy that now it's out of my head and onto something else, so I don't have to think about it anymore. There are a lot of books that I want to read, so I'm gonna buy Babel. And then for the rest, I'll just see whatever I want to pick up at that moment. I don't think it's a good idea for me to just start buying all these books right now, because I might not even get to them, considering that I also have these books that I already own that I can still look at, you know? This is kind of my system of how I keep myself from buying too many stuff that I don't need. Let's make these cursive. That looks cuter. Yes, okay. Okay, okay. Okay, cute. Cute. Okay, time to clean up this mess. Please let me know if I'm not the only one that overplans these things. Otherwise I just keep thinking about it and I just like to have it planned. Thanks for hanging out with me. I just love having a little chat, you know, going through the books together. If you're new, welcome. I'm really glad you're still here. If you enjoy hanging out with us, we welcome you. I'm excited to read all these books and chat about them with you guys. I hope you had a wonderful time. I hope this video could bring you a little bit of calm and also a little bit of extra books to put on your TBR. I really hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you soon next week. Goodbye.